Hello and welcome to your June edition of Essential Cardano360, your monthly roundup of just some of the latest news and developments from across the Cardano ecosystem, brought to you from the team at Input Output. Is it really June already? This year is going incredibly fast, and as hard as it feels at times, we're making incredible progress. So let's dive straight in. But before we do, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon if you're watching on YouTube so you can stay up to date on all of the content coming out of I/O over the summer. Since we entered the age of Voltaire, the community has delivered against a number of important milestones as Cardano continues to scale its decentralized, community-driven development. One of the most critical areas to address continues to be around the budget and how we best balance the need to invest for growth with maintaining fiscal responsibility. With treasury withdrawal actions going live for online voting, it will now be up to the community, voting either directly or through their DREPs, to decide. Intersect, members-based organisation for Cardano, has been coordinating these activities since the start of the year, alongside many other key initiatives. Board member Adam Rusch stopped by to give us an update.
Hey everyone, this is Adam Rusch from the Intersect Board of Directors, here to give you an update on the organization. So the first thing to note is that the budget info action has passed. This was the first comprehensive budget that has been passed on the Cardano network, and we'd like to thank all the DREPs who participated in the process and who voted to put this on chain and get it ready for the budget going forward. Of course, as we know, this is only the first step to actually getting treasury funds paid to projects doing work for the Cardano blockchain ecosystem. The next step is to have the treasury withdrawals actually happen. So while we were running the budget info action, we also did a poll to all the DREPs to ask them, how would you like to see the funding requests actually approved on chain? And the DREPs said that they would like to see each project voted on separately for the treasury withdrawal. So the next step is that the Intersect staff will submit 39 individual treasury withdrawal governance actions. So with Intersect serving as the administrator, we will have those go on chain soon, and funds will be withdrawn to a new smart contract protocol that has been developed by Sunday Labs and Ouroboros. I'd like to give a big thank you to Pi Lanningham from Sunday for taking the lead on that. You can watch it for an update from him where he'll explain how the smart contracts work. He'll show you the code. The code will be open source so that you can review it yourself and also look at the test transactions that were performed to show you that the smart contracts are working properly and that they will keep the funds secure and in a way that they can only be moved when the proper administrators say that they need to go to the funding projects. Now, these smart contracts, the way these smart contracts are set up is that they will pay out the projects based on a milestone basis. And as the milestones are met, the funds get released. But if for some reason the project leaders do not meet their milestones, the reviewers who are watching the projects will be able to pause the payments until the milestone requirements are met. This is in line with the constitutional requirements of an administrator according to the Cardano Constitution. Intersect takes that role very seriously, and we hope that we will be able to show the community how much we care about carrying out our duties. If you want to see that, again, check out the Intersect blog, look for those updates, and we will have that coming forward very soon, I believe. We also have going on the preliminary round of the Constitutional Committee elections. If you remember, about a year ago, we had the Interim Constitutional Committee established with the Plum and Hard Fork. The Interim Constitutional Committee is made up of 7 seats. It is 4 seats that are of institutional members. You have the 3 Genesis entities. You have Cardano Foundation, IOG, Emergo. Then you also have Intersect, which put together a board of Intersect members who would serve as a constitutional council. And then you also have 3 community members who are elected through a vote. Well, those 4 institutional members are stepping down to make way for a fully elected constitutional committee from the community. And so I'm very excited about this, the fact that we're now going to have the Constitutional Committee fully elected by the Cardano community, the ADA holders through their DREPs. And this is going to be now going on chain for replacement in late August or the beginning of September. So what Intersect is doing is we are having the preliminary round where all of the candidates for the Constitutional Committee have been nominated. You can check out the Intersect blog to see more information about them. And the D-Reps are currently able to vote on who they would like to see on the Constitution Committee. And when we have the full vote counted, we will take the top 7 candidates that the D-Reps have voted on, and we will put them on a slate, submit that slate on chain for D-Rep ratification. And then when they are approved by the D-Reps on chain, they will become the new Constitutional Committee. So make sure you check that out. Make your voice known to your D-Rep so that they know how you feel about the Constitutional Committee candidates, or register your wallet to become a D-Rep yourself. You always have the ability to register your ADA to make yourself a D-Rep and represent yourself in Cardano governance. And the final thing I think that I'd like to mention is that the Intersect Board of Directors will have a meeting next week. We have been talking about our search for a new permanent executive director. I'd like to thank Jack for serving as the interim executive director and his help as we navigate the organization through all the things we've been doing. And we are excited about continuing to serve the community and making sure that we have a great, robust search for who will have that position, going forward. So you can expect the actual process to begin after the Constitutional Committee election is over. But in our next meeting, we are going to be talking about that and talking about the future of Intersect and making sure that it continues to serve the community. So that's all I have for today. If you have any questions, you can always feel free to reach out to me on X or any member of Intersect. We are always happy to help and be here to serve the community. Thank you.
So thanks, Adam, for the latest. And if you want a nice straightforward overview of how voting works, take a look at some of the key items in the proposed roadmap, and meet a few of the builders and governance leaders driving Cardano forwards, make sure you check out the New Dawn website. Links below. And remember, governance isn't just about one set of ideas winning. It's about people coming together, bringing forward their views and aligning around consensus. Inevitably, compromises will be needed, and in these early days, some pragmatic choices need to be made. But zoom out, and we have made incredible progress so far. So get involved today, and let's all keep moving this forwards. Rare Evo remains one of the highlights of the Cardano year, where the community comes together to celebrate its achievements, look forward to what's ahead, and just have fun hanging out. This year is going to be the best yet, and event organisers McHenry and Wes Parkinson stopped by to give us a preview of what attendees can expect this year in Sin City.
Hello everyone, and today we're joined by Wes and Rand to talk about all things Rare Evo 2025. But before we do so, Wes, Rand, tell us a bit about yourselves and your role on the team.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Wes Parkinson. I'm one of the co-founders of Rare Network alongside my partner Rand here. Been in crypto since about 2017. Rand and I started getting together around 2019 and realizing that we had similar interests and skill sets from our Web 2 life that gave us the ability to not only spin up a stake pool, but also a conference.
Yeah, I'm Rand McHenry, the other co-founder of Rare Network, and I have a background in live events production and media, and Wes and I came together with his tech background to create the Rare Pool when we started conversating about cryptocurrencies. Wes was actually the one who introduced me to the Charles Whiteboard video, and we both fell in love and really started building from there.
So Rare Evo is in its 4th year now, but let's go back to 2022 where it all started. How did Rare Evo come about?
Yeah, so Rare Evo actually derived from Rand and I's interest in proof of stake. Rand and I realized our similar interest for crypto from our small town. I think we were certainly the only ones digging deep down the crypto rabbit hole. And after spinning up the Rare stake pool, many of us know that stake pools require a mission. And our mission was to bring people together. We had that realization after going to Bitcoin 2021 and having the light bulb moment and seeing the high value of crypto conference experience.
Yeah, it was really meeting up with like-minded folks in the community that we had spoken with, whether that be YouTube content creators that had stake pools or other stake pool operators that we had met in the forums and things like that. And our pool had broken. Rare Pool, there was very little documentation and we weren't technically skilled enough to fix it at the time, and we needed help. So we went to the Bitcoin conference where we knew Charles and a group of stake pool operators were meeting, and that's where the light bulb moment happened. And we said we needed more of these events. And with the live events background, I said, I think we can make that happen. And we partnered with Bloompool to do that first Rare Bloom in 2022. And it's been a whirlwind over those 4 years. We've grown significantly year over year, doubling in size, and watching the community grow as well, from smart contracts coming into play and projects growing, from people meeting at that event at Rare Bloom 2022 to now having full-blown projects and booths on the exhibit hall floor. So it's been an amazing ride. I think, we practice what we preach to, and have traveled to tens and tens, if not 100 plus live events over those 4 years ourselves to get introduced with folks. And those relationships just bloom more and more every year.
And then 4 years later, we're at Rare Evo in Las Vegas, a total multi-chain conference from Fortune 50s down to startups, with Charles on stage, as well as your favorite community leads. So we've grown a ton. We're extremely grateful for the success, and we're looking forward to becoming the largest conference in North America. So that's the spot we're aiming for. Our Cardano origin story has really helped with our evolution, and then pushing in that multi-chain direction has really allowed us to scale as a business.
Fantastic. So let's talk about last year's event. What were your highlights of Rare Evo 2024?
Last year was our first year in Vegas, 2024, and it was jam-packed, from Elijah Wood DJing with Chris Baird from Catalyst on the kickoff party to Zed closing out the closeout party at Omnia Nightclub. We had amazing speakers like Charles, and people from Midnight Iran was speaking last year. We also had people from Deloitte and FedEx and Microsoft, and huge DeFi protocols like Alchemix and things like that were in the house. And we've really grown on a multi-chain, really expanded on that going into 2025, and expanded on the fun that is Las Vegas, all the shows and the artwork from 2024 and everything like that. It's really grown with what we've been able to provide folks in the Las Vegas fashion.
That should really whet people's appetite for the 2025 event. Speaking of which, what can attendees expect to see at this year's Rare Evo?
Yeah, absolutely. So this year we're a week earlier. So the dates are August 6th through the 10th at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas. August 6th, we're getting everyone in town for those who want to partake in Governance and Dev Day the following day for the full day. So August 6th, everyone will get into town. That evening, we'll kick off with a social party to celebrate our first Cardano Dev and Governance Day. Following that, on the 7th, we'll be at Topgolf Las Vegas, where Governance Day and Developer Day will be occurring. What is that? That is both technical developer workshops happening simultaneously with governance-related workshops. I think governance is at the top of everyone's mind, and we can create one of the largest in-person breakouts and brainstorm sessions for Cardano governance as a whole during this day. So this is this new added, I would say, activity for everyone to join in ahead of the 2 days of our main conference, Rare Evo. It is a completely free event. You can sign up on the Luma page, and you'll be able to get your QR code and jump aboard. And not only that, but we have a ton of fun. It's at a Topgolf, 2 pools, driving range, and just a great opportunity to socialize with all your friends, even if you're not trying to get too deep in the weeds of the governance and developer side of things. So really looking forward to that as the new feature. And we have the treasury to thank. So we're very happy that we have the opportunity to do that. Once Governance Day and Dev Day wraps up, on Friday, the main conference will start, where we have a ton of new Layer 1s joining us. We are, I think, most excited for some of the announcements surrounding Midnight, and then to see this kind of spirit of interoperability and multi-chain really be uplifted by about 10 new Layer 1s. That's folks from Multiverse X, the Algorand ecosystem. We had their leadership last year. Now we're going to have their ecosystem this year. ICP Definity, Polkadot. So a ton of interoperability and cross-chain conversations can be made out of this year's Rare Evo due to, I think, our enhanced programming and onboarding quite a lot of new blockchain communities. I would say once the conference wraps up, we have our annual Rare Evo Poker Classic on the Sunday to follow. And of course, you can expect entertainment, parties, and socials, whether they be, open to the public, Rare Evo attendees only, or invite only throughout both Friday and Saturday night as well.
Thanks, Wes. Really, really interesting and exciting stuff to look forward to in August later on this year. Let's talk about some of the new tech trends that we've been seeing in 2025. A lot has happened this year, but what's caught your eye?
There's a huge push on the ETF side of things, the finance side of things, whether that be decentralized finance or centralized finance. We've got Grayscale speaking on stage, Bitwise, Jacoby Asset Management from the UK and the European side. They were the first to do a Bitcoin ETF in the UK. There's a lot of interest in that from wealth managers and how people get exposure to Bitcoin and Bitcoin DeFi. I think we'll see a lot of that also talked about by Charles at the event as well, and a lot on stable coins. We've got Sam from Frax Finance, the founder of Frax Finance, who will be in attendance. We've got USDM and Moneta in attendance. We're talking to USDA. So there's a really big push around stable coins, decentralized finance, centralized finance, and how that really intertwines with the industry. And I think there's a lot of curiosity there as well on the attendee side. So I'm really excited to see that. We're also working with policymakers and regulators that are coming out that are working on the stablecoin bill and a lot of these things that are going through regulators here in the United States. And I think people are very interested to hear from them directly on what exactly is going on and any new announcements. We're, being told publicly that there should be a stablecoin bill, hopefully public by August, by the summer break, for a lot of these policymakers and regulators. So hopefully a lot of those announcements will be getting made on the Rare Evo stage.
Yeah, I think alongside a lot of the interesting DeFi and policy making programming, we're going to have quite a bit of insight into AI, the use of IP in gaming as well. And I think a combination of those two as well, AI agents as well as Web3 gaming. So I think it's different strokes for different folks. And we've got a little bit for everyone, from the DeFi heads to the hardcore Web3 gamer that's trying to convert all their traditional gaming friends into tokenized gaming, down to the for the culture NFT projects, and all the way back up to these major DePIN players, many of the time using their hardware to process some of those AI protocols.
Speaking of NFTs, in addition to your traditional tickets, I understand you can get NFT minted tickets as well. Tell us about how this experience works for the people that have bought them.
Yes, our NFT minting just closed for the year. For those that did get them and bought tickets early, we really appreciate them joining us through the experience. At Rare Network, our mission is live events and media, but also the tech side, the stake pool and building tech on chain. And one of those is our NFT ticketing and building ticketing on chain as well. So those that did get to mint, the experience they got was added and above and beyond a Web2 ticket. People can still go purchase Web2 tickets, show up to the show, get in just like anybody else. But the added experience that we were able to give of people minting a ticket early out gave them added perks, such as airdrops from Book.io, from potentially Hosky token. Right now, everybody who has minted a ticket was airdropped USDM tokens. Whether they purchased that ticket before the partnership was made, they were airdropped those tokens retrospectively, which is really cool to see with NFT tickets, and being able to airdrop people assets after the fact and continue to give to our attendees even after the show. Potentially things might show up in their wallet for holding those tickets. And right now, as people were minting tickets, they were able to get an instant rebate. Once that partnership was made with USDM, it was sent directly to their wallet, a 5% rebate on their ticket purchase. So it's really allowed us to enhance the experience for somebody as they purchase a ticket, give them a reason to purchase a ticket much earlier out, and then we're able to gamify it even more and really have some fun with our attendees and customers that are loyal and that are coming back year after year, we can give them an opportunity of, hey, when you mint a GA ticket, you have a 10% chance at upgrading to a VIP ticket. Or when you mint a VIP ticket, you had a 10% chance at riding the Ferris wheel or the zip line down the strip, or tickets to see a show in Las Vegas, or gambling funds to use on the casino floor. And we had plenty of people not only mint a GA ticket and get upgraded to a VIP, but then also win the VIP upgrade and get a perk on top of that. So it was really fun to see people post about it, to watch the gamification and people collect the tickets. And we look forward to, at the event this year, getting tickets out for Rare Evo 2026 for everybody to start minting then.
No, absolutely, Rand. And of course, Rare Evo is just over a month away now. So Wes, turning to you, for people that have never been to Rare Evo beforehand, what insider tips do you have to make sure they get the most out of the event?
Yeah, I would say definitely get in early, get time to acclimate and adjust, especially if you're an international attendee coming from outside of the US, and be there for Dev and Governance Day. This will be, I think, the largest set of Cardano workshops throughout the year, at least in North America. So get there on the 6th, get ready to dive deep on the 7th into those technical workshops. You are going to arrive at the beautiful Caesar's Palace, which is a world-renowned casino and hotel. I would say it's the quintessential Vegas casino. So you're going to get to learn how to navigate Caesars, from the slots to the poker tables to the nightclubs to the Rare Evo Expo Hall, most importantly. I think Vegas is very chaotic, so you'll want to make sure that you take a look at our agenda on the website and understand what's happening each day, because they are jam-packed. You're going to have plenty of socializing opportunities, partying opportunities, and of course, most importantly, business opportunities and how you continue to make your way in the blockchain industry as an individual or an organization. You will undoubtedly experience the nightclub life due to our industry night VIP party occurring on Thursday. Friday night, there will be a ton of side events. And then Saturday night, we're going to kick it off at Zook Nightclub for the closeout party with the entire attendance under one roof partying. So there's a ton of socializing, a ton of business to get done, and quite a lot of, I would say, education and brainstorming around the future of Cardano from both the governance perspective for our non-technical attendees, as well as the developers in the house who can learn what to build next and how to benefit the chain in the best way possible.
Fantastic. So for the people that have not got their tickets yet, and for the people that want to find out more about Rare Evo, where can they find you?
RareEvo.io, on Twitter @RareEvo. You can also find us on Instagram and LinkedIn @RareEvo as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you are looking to get a hold of the team, jump in our Discord or throw a meeting on our calendar. Our calendar link is public, both on our X as well as the Discord. So we're an open door to the entire blockchain industry, and always happy to have a conversation about how you'd like to get involved in Rare Evo 2025 and beyond.
Wonderful. There you go, folks. Rare Evo 2025 taking place in Las Vegas between the 6th and 10th of August. Remember to grab your tickets. Wes, Rand, thanks again for your time today and looking forward to the event.
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you.
So thanks to Rand and Wes for stopping by. Now Input Output will of course be in Las Vegas in force, with lots of exciting announcements and product showcases in the works. We hope you'll stop by to join us at the booth, or maybe attend some of the governance and development workshops taking place that week. With nearly 2,100 projects funded from all four corners of the world, over 1,000 completed projects so far, and some 270 million ADA awarded to help fuel ecosystem growth, Project Catalyst continues to champion the innovative ideas from you, the Cardano community. It continues to be a driving force for innovation and growth in the ecosystem, and their excellent Horizons report showcased the entire breadth of work done over the last several years. Chris Baird and Danny Rebar stopped by for an early summer check-in as they look to gear up for the next fund.
Hey everyone, Daniel and Chris here, coming at you from the Catalyst team with the latest scoop on Project Catalyst. Today we're unpacking another set of exciting updates, key progress highlights, and what's on the horizon for this incredible journey. If you're just tuning in or want a quick recap, not to worry, we'll kick things off by revisiting the core of what Project Catalyst is all about. Chris, why don't you take it away with a brief rundown?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Well, Project Catalyst has been the funding fuel and driving force behind Cardano's community-powered startup ecosystem. It's a unique innovation program where ADA holders directly decide which projects receive funding from the Cardano treasury. Now, over the last 13 rounds, the Cardano community has voted more than 3 million times and chosen almost 2,100 projects to go into production. So Catalyst funds projects from every industry wanting to use Cardano blockchain technology, through to guys in their garages with great ideas and many community builders creating hubs and content around the world for their own localized networks. And Project Catalyst is really a cornerstone of Cardano's growth and decentralization that not only funds tech innovation, but also fosters transparency, accountability, and community ownership of the outcomes. Thousands of Cardano's global citizens receive incentives for the roles that they play in Catalyst. And so we've created a public goods-like layer that supports startup ecosystem growth and is a flywheel effect that other apps and blockchain users can plug into and benefit from. So if you want to learn more about how you can help shape the Web3 world around you, visit projectcatalyst.io and check out the report section for a deep dive into the Catalyst Horizons 2025 report, or check out the Global Insights section to find out what the Cardano community is building all around the world.
Thank you, Chris. Always a helpful refresher. So what has Catalyst been up to? Since we last checked in, 61 more projects have successfully completed their deliverables and 128 new milestones, proofs of achievements have been submitted. That brings us to nearly 800 active projects with total completed milestones now just under 1,300, sitting at 1,298. Funded teams are consistently hitting their targets, and the Catalyst team is collaborating closely with the community to keep everything moving smoothly and on schedule. If you're curious about the status of your favorite project or want to see how it's progressing, head over to projectcatalyst.io. Just use the search bar, type in the name of the proposal you supported, and within seconds, you'll get everything from a high-level overview down to the nitty-gritty of proofs of achievements for any of their milestones. This is transparency through accessibility at your fingerprints. Speaking of hitting milestones, there is a very special update we'd like to share with you today. A little over 1.5 years ago, the Catalyst team set out on a refreshed roadmap outlining the future of the program. This led to a series of pivotal proposals put before the community for a vote to decide the next direction for Catalyst. And one key proposal focused on serving the Cardano community by running a custom end-to-end program which paved the way for 3 funding rounds, Fund 11, 12, and 13. As part of this, the Catalyst team had to follow the same rigorous process as everyone else, hitting milestones with proof of achievements at every step, all diligently reviewing by the community-led milestone program. Having said that, we've recently reached one final milestone. Chris, what happened exactly?
Yes, well, it is really a momentous achievement, Danny, and one that I hope that the whole community can be proud of. The Catalyst team has now submitted its final proof of achievements, project closeout video, and project completion report that details all of the goings on over the last 3 funds. So more than 750 new Cardano projects have been funded over Fund 11, 12 and 13, and actually over 300 of those projects are set on piloting novel use cases using Cardano blockchain technology. Interestingly, 20 of those use cases are in direct partnership or even led by household name brands across a number of industry verticals that are all trialing out Cardano-based innovations, including even one Indian state government partnership. All building on Cardano, all enabled by Cardano community votes through Project Catalyst. So we'd invite you to check out the project completion video and the report that we pulled together to conclude this fantastic Catalyst Fund Operations project and our final milestone. This is really decentralized innovation in action, and it's a proud moment that I hope that we can all share in. It's also a signal to the Cardano community that we are ready and set to get started on the next fund. Fund 14 is coming, And this is really a call to action to all you builders, proposers, reviewers, and anyone out there that wants to see the innovation engine get started again. We're all good to go, and if you want Fund 14 to launch, please let it be known to your voting D-reps to get the Catalyst proposal approved and voted for over the line so we can get started. We really need your support right now so we can maintain this momentum and keep Cardano's innovation engine firing.
And on that note, it brings us to the end of today's update. To stay in the loop with everything happening in the world of Catalyst, be sure to follow us on Catalyst on X. We've got plenty of exciting stories and updates coming your way. Plus, don't forget, we host weekly town halls every Wednesday at 5 p.m. UTC, and you can catch them live on YouTube, X, or you can join us directly on Zoom using the link you're seeing on screen now. Thank you for tuning in today. This is Daniel and Chris signing off on behalf of the Catalyst team. We can't wait to connect with you again very soon. Bye-bye.
So thanks to Danny and Chris for joining us there in that update. And for more on Catalyst and the latest on Fund 14, be sure to follow the team on their socials. Links are below. As Cardano continues to grow, so does the need for a more flexible and accessible node architecture. The Haskell node continues to serve us well, offering strong guarantees around security and correctness, but relying on a single language has made it harder for new developers to get involved. Project Acropolis aims to help change that by rebuilding the node around a modular Rust-based architecture. It makes the node easier to scale, integrate, and extend while adding resilience and lowering barriers for broader participation. Paul Clarke spoke to Rich to tell us more.
Hello again, and today I'm joined by Paul from the Acropolis team here at Input Output. Paul, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Good to be here.
So Paul, give us a little introduction to yourself and the work you're doing with IO.
Yeah, sure. So I'm a technical architect at IOE, and I'm leading what we call a pioneer team, exploring how we can use different software architectures to kind of change up the way that we build things. My background's in real-time systems, in streaming media, audio-visual stuff, specializing in modular systems. So I guess you might say I'm a sort of, that's my speciality is creating modular systems that run fast. That's the kind of technology, that's the kind of concept that I want to bring to this field as well.
Fantastic. So Project Acropolis, how did that all come about?
It was an idea really that we wanted to explore how we could expand the software architecture that we build the node with into a more sort of extensible way, one that you could be more scalable, it could work more in parallel than the current one does. And so I set out to basically look at how we build our current software and realized we could actually do that with the node in the long term. But in the short term, actually, I was looking at the way that applications interface with the existing node and realized that sometimes it's quite hard for people to do that. It's a great system, but it's a bit of a black box and you've got a fairly limited interface to it. So I wanted to look at how we could use this kind of modular architecture to make developers' lives easier. And in doing that, I was obviously under an agile sort of way. You're trying to find a real customer that has a real pain point. And we wanted to solve that. And actually, it turned out that customer was our own partner chains division. And they had a problem where the resources that they needed in order to run both a full node and DB Sync next to it were quite high, and they wanted to reduce that. And so that kind of became the short-term goal to help them.
Wonderful. So let's talk about node diversity. Why is it so important? Why is this such a hot issue at the moment?
It's partly philosophical and partly practical. From a philosophical point of view, we've got this amazing decentralized network. I mean, I think it's the most decentralized network in terms of number of nodes that are running it. We now have this decentralized governance, which is obviously there's a lot of activity around that at the moment. But our code base is still very centralized. So, I won't take away from its brilliance, but it is maintained by a fairly small team. And generally, developers have found it quite hard to get into in terms of to contribute. So I think there's a general movement towards node diversity to solve that problem, the centralization of the code base from a sort of philosophical end, but also from a pragmatic point of view, looking into the longer term, you don't want your whole network dependent on one implementation. It's much better to have multiple implementations. It's more resilient if you have changes in the teams. If you imagine how NASA send off a spaceship, right? They build multiple computers. In fact, they typically build 3 computers all doing the same calculation, and then they take the best of 3 if they disagree. And actually, you see that Ethereum does that, and they deliberately try and have a diversity in their ecosystem of different nodes so that they know that they've got multiple implementations, multiple people thinking about it in different ways, And that just makes the network as a whole more resilient.
So, Paul, am I right in thinking that Acropolis is not a replacement for the current Haskell node? It's basically an extension of it. Is that correct?
Well, at the moment, yes, we're using it as a data node where it connects to an existing Haskell node, and it's used to pull data out of it and in the future submit data back into it. But there is the potential of it becoming a new node itself. And then it's as part of the kind of general node diversity move that we're seeing in Cardano with other projects like Amaru and Dingo. There is really, over the last year, there's been a lot of movement in that way. We had a great conference, a mini conference in Paris in April, where we all got together, all the people working on nodes, including the Haskell team and Acropolis and Amaru and Dingo and others. And we all talked about what it means to have multiple nodes in the network. And the thing that struck me actually was how sort of collegiate and cooperative it is. I mean, there's not a sense of competition here. We're all trying to build the same thing, but we've all got different ideas about how we might build it. And that just creates the diversity, which is going to give us that resilience in the long term.
So this is collaborative and complementary rather than being competitive. Speaking of collaboration, tell me about some of the wider figures that are featured on Project Acropolis.
Well, we started off, it was an internal project. It was just me for a while, just designing things and building this sort of underlying infrastructure. It's called Caryatid. But recently we've brought in some other partners. So we've got people from 4 different companies working on this, one of which is Sunday Labs, who have got a huge amount of experience in developing, obviously, their own applications. So they're just kind of acting as a customer here, potentially. But also, they've been working on the Amaru project. They've done a whole lot of work on test systems. They've been working on Leios. So there's a whole lot of knowledge that we brought into the team there. It just gives us that diversity of thought, actually. There's always a danger if you have a very limited team and you tend to go down a rabbit hole. And it's better, actually, I find it, at this stage when we're kind of doing that divergent thinking part of the process. It's better to have more people in the room and they can give us lots of different perspectives.
So just changing track slightly, Paul, what are you hoping to see from the ecosystem as this modularity opens things up in terms of opportunities for people in Cardano?
At the moment, we have been a bit of a under-the-radar project. We haven't, because we've been building our foundations, and we've been, agile. It's an agile process, right? We've written some stuff, and then we've torn it up, and then we've done it again. So we didn't want to push it out to the community too early, because otherwise the amount of changes we'd be doing would just be a pain for everybody. But that time is coming where we very much would like the community, the whole ecosystem, to get involved and start not only to ask for things in terms of, if you think about the data node, for new APIs, for different ways that they want to consume data, but also to start writing their own modules. And the great thing about how we've organized it with Caryatid is, and we're working in Rust, but you can write a module in anything that can talk to a message bus. You can write it in TypeScript or Go or Haskell or Rust or whatever you choose. So we want to sort of bring the node to where people are, if you see what I mean, that they can build in their own functionality. There may be that simple applications, they can just use your standard APIs, that's fine. And we'll provide as many APIs as we can to make that happen. But there's always the possibility that if you want a particular type of data or if you want to filter it in a certain way, you can write your own module that plugs into this data node. And it becomes a first-class citizen of that node. It's not something that's sitting outside it. You are in the node. So this is where I get this kind of mantra of the node is the ecosystem. Is it's so porous and so flexible that you can, if you want to make a particular application that doesn't need some of the functionality, you just leave that out. If you want to add your own functionality, you can plug it in there. So I think that's where I want to go with the ecosystem. I mean, this is something we obviously need to, to help people with and explain and everything, and we haven't quite got there yet, but it is relatively easy to write one of these modules. I mean, we're talking about a couple of pages of code usually to write a module. So, we hope it's something that the broader development community can start to do as well.
Wonderful. And you sort of touched on it there. What are the next steps for Project Acropolis? Right.
Well, we're at the stage now, we're very close to producing our holy grail, which is the stake pool distribution data. And that's what's driven having to do all the other things. Obviously, the first thing to do there is to, once we start to derive that data, and we're literally weeks away from doing that, we will need testing that against the original Haskell node and what's on the network. So we can replay the whole main chain and check that we agree with all the data that the existing system has produced. So that's one stream. And then we want to continue that stream with data nodes in terms of adding new APIs and, as I said, helping people build their own modules. And then there's another stream that will start soon where we are starting to think about how this could become a full node. And then we need to add all the things like validation, the peer-to-peer networking, block production, all the functions that a full node has that a data node doesn't. And then the third stream is we're very much thinking towards Leios, because Leios is much more parallelized system, right? There's a lot of things happening in parallel. And this kind of architecture, when you've got modules which are horizontally scalable and they're communicating over event bus, is a very good way of doing that. And that's really why we chose it right at the beginning. So as soon as the design of Leios is finalized enough that we could start to develop, we will start doing that. And we're going to use Acropolis as a kind of test bed, because it's very easy to chop and change things. You can plug things in, replace them, take them in and out, put them in and out. So we hope that will be a contribution towards the Leios development effort as well.
Fantastic. So if people want to find out more about Project Acropolis, how can they do so?
Well, to be honest, we've been a bit under the radar up to now. We've been very heads down in sort of designing and developing this, and things have been very fluid, so we haven't pushed it out so much. But it is all in a GitHub repository. In fact, there's 2 repositories. There's one for Acropolis and one for Caryatid. You can also follow me on X at Taulena, which is a Cornish word meaning programmer. And there will be more materials coming out soon. We've got a blog post on the way. We're going to be producing more kind of developer-facing materials in the next couple of months.
Thanks very much, Paul. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you very much.
So thanks, Paul and Rich, for that. And to learn more, check out the GitHub repository under the IO GitHub and our recent blog. You'll find the links below. Building on Cardano, it's what started this show years ago, and we haven't forgotten why we're here, to feature you, the community, and to help spotlight just some of the talent driving the ecosystem forward. This month, Matthew sat down with James Meidinger from USDM, and Rich sat down with Nils Helset from Digifarm to discuss their projects.
James, thanks so much for being on the show with us today. Can you introduce us to yourself and also to Moneta?
Yeah, my name is James Meidinger. I'm the business development lead for USDM, owned by Moneta, which is part of a parent company called W3I.
And can you tell us what a stablecoin like USDM actually is?
Stablecoin is, in essence, a digital form of a dollar. So when you think about it and you have a dollar in your pocket, you can use that, go to any store that you so choose, and then be able to purchase or buy anything that you want. With a digital dollar, this then allows you to be able to work within the Web3 space. So there's a digital wallet that you can have. That literally, for me, I think of it as a huge onboarding tool and a platform that should be able to access any other thing that you want to use within the Web3 community, which includes DeFi, using it to go buy things over at EndMaker, or set up an NFT project, or what have you, going over to Bodega, making a bet, going over to book.io and potentially buying a book there. And you can do all that from the comfort of your home through your digital wallet. It's absolutely amazing. And the beauty of it is it always maintains the same stable store of value. It doesn't have that volatility that a regular token would have or some other volatile asset would have that we typically see within our community.
Well, I know that your team has spent a lot of time thinking about how to build a stablecoin from a dollar-backed stablecoin from a regulatory perspective and just institutionally in a way that really transfers the reliability of the dollar to the on-chain environment. So I wonder if you could give us sort of the picture of how you went about creating that groundwork.
Well, that groundwork started out with Matthew Plomin. He was the initiator of this entire process. He found himself wondering through other particular stablecoins whether or not they're capital efficient or not. And from that, his conclusions were that they weren't necessarily the most capital efficient. And then from there, he set off on a plan in order to build that particular company, and we're extraordinarily grateful for it. All the efforts he put in is making what we are, what we have today. Then from there, we had to talk to a lot of lawyers, get involved with a lot of legal, had to do a lot of applications with FinCEN and things of that nature. And it's been a very long road, a very hard road, but at the same time, it's very worthwhile considering the amount of community support we've had and also just what we're able to do these days for the community as a whole. So it's been really great. But yeah, that's really been the hardest part was getting the legal set up and what have you.
You guys have been around for a while now. You've been building, preparing really well the ground initially for the launch. You've been launched. There was a while where retail investors didn't have the option to mint themselves. Recently, you launched that. There's been a ton of progress and growth. Can you tell me where you guys are at right now and what's most exciting?
Yeah, so currently right now we had the beta program going and that went really, really well. We had a lot of really great contributors that came in, signed up for the program, and were able to really test out the system that had been built. Andrew Westberg, who was our CTO, had done a lot of work on the back end in order to refine what we have. And from there, what we learned and was applied to the newest version of our retail mint, which it just went live. That has gone very, very well, and we've been received very well by the community. And also we want to thank the community for that. What we're really excited about is the fact that we're starting to see really large retail players and some institutional interest in our retail platform, which has been really great. So we also have a business side to the application as well, which allows for businesses to come in, set up, do KYC and also KYB, and from there then run their operations, whether it be for treasury, payroll, whatever it is that they're using that particular use case for.
What is the importance or relevance of a stablecoin, in particular, maybe a fiat-backed regulated stablecoin like this, to the Cardano ecosystem?
So the key point to a stablecoin for me is to keep it very simple. It's a simple swap or store of value, which also then allows people then to take that particular asset because it is a Cardano native asset and can roll through and work into any one particular dApp that we have currently on Cardano. From there, you can either leverage that, say like on Liquid, for example, where you're getting a very nice yield, or you can take it and use it to swap with another particular token. And then from there, also allow yourself to be able to then be able to be staked within particular protocols or paired up with a liquidity pool, like say on SundaeSwap or MinSwap, for example. So it's really been a game changer, I think, for a lot of people within the industry, just simply because now they can really depend on the value or the price of that particular token to remain stable the entire time while they're using it. So yeah, it's really been huge for a lot of people here, all of our retail users, as well as our business users here in Cardano.
Well, so maybe you could take us a little bit deeper into some of the groundwork that has gone into preparing USDM as that kind of stablecoin with that level of reliability and assurance behind it.
The one really nice thing about Cardano is with Matthew, when he first started this company, he didn't have to recreate the wheel. So using USDC as a model, it allowed for us to set up a very good framework for the business. Now, W3I is the parent company. Moneta is the manager for the assets itself. This then provides a separation of the two companies and allows for it to be bankruptcy remote. So for any retail users that's thinking about whether or not their funds are safe, it's important to know that it's completely bankruptcy remote. And no matter what happens with W3I, there's no way that those assets can be accessed or taken from them. The other side of that is the fact that we have Charlie 3, who does a third-party attestation. So what that means is that they have a read-only API into our access for our accounts. And from there, they give their own attestation of the accounts as they sit right at that moment. The beauty of it is that you can review that at any time on Charlie 3. And then we also have what's called USDM Stream, which is an app or a bot that is currently on X, that anytime a mint or a burn happens, it immediately comes out on chain. Usually you'll see that right around 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So this way, no matter what, the user can always feel confident in knowing that where the assets are, what the actual amount of that is, and that they're not relying on us internally to give you that information, which I think is extraordinarily important for end users and their confidence with our company.
Well, so what is in the future, in the immediate future, for Moneta and USDM? What are you guys looking forward to?
So what we look forward to is to see our DeFi space grow, and that goes in direct correlation with the circulating supply that is currently on chain and what we're adding to on a regular basis. Like I said, the retail recently has gone very, very well, and we've seen a great deal of interest, more than I actually had anticipated, which is really a pleasant surprise, in minting from individuals and, of course, also businesses that are looking to get into access, say, like Liquid, for example, and other particular dApps that they're thinking about using the stablecoin. So what I look forward to most is seeing those dApps that we are currently working with, and maybe in some cases that we've not even had contact with, but they're using our stablecoin in order to further their business and grow market share where they're at. This then, of course, creates a bit of a nice market to where instead of thinking about a survival mode that I've seen a lot of people go through, especially after FTX and the bear market that we went through. Everybody got really into a survival mode. I'd love for everybody to get more into a thrive style mode where they're starting to think outside the box, create a few more particular products that might be a little out there, but at the same time, something that they could do simply because they feel confident that this particular market can grow. Our job is to make and give that liquidity within the market so they can make that happen for their end users.
Well, if somebody's watching this right now, whether they're an individual or a business owner and they want to get in contact or get involved, where should they go?
Absolutely go to moneta.global. That will take you to every single other thing that we have. From there, what I would also suggest is, even if you're not in a state that currently we operate in, go ahead to app.moneta.global. And from there, you can set up a user account. The only time that you can do that, though, is when you are physically in that state. And I want to make sure that everybody understands that. There's a little bit of a discrepancy there as far as how legally they can do this. Well, it turns out you don't have to actually have an address in the state that you are tied to. You just need to physically be in the state. So let's say you live next door to Kansas, for example, like I do here in Oklahoma. I can just drive up to the border and use the app as long as I am, pinging off one of the towers that are currently within the state of Kansas. So this allows anybody anywhere to be able to use this.
Excellent. Well, James, thank you so much for being on the show with us today. And I'm really excited about the growth that USDM is bringing to the Cardano ecosystem.
Thanks, Matthew. I appreciate it. It's been an honor to be on this show. I've been a fan and a follower for a very, very long time, and really excited to see the progress that you've had since you've been in this particular space. And I really look forward to years and years of good conversations in the future. Thank you.
Hello again, and today I'm joined by Nils from Digifarm. How are you doing, Nils?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Rich. Thanks so much for having me. Very excited to be here today.
Absolutely. Great to have you on the show. Before we get into talk about Digifarm, though, let's have a bit of an introduction to yourself and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, great question. Yeah, and I'm one of the co-founders and CEOs of Digifarm. I'm born and raised in Hamar, Norway, just an hour northeast of Oslo, and I took over the family farm in 2014. So I've been operational for a while. It's a small family farm and about 150 hectares, and we started Digifarm in 2019. And I think I didn't have any agronomy experience when I took over the farm in 2014. So I was just trying to learn on the go. And I certainly saw that there was a couple of core areas of digital agriculture, or ag as we call it, that, the farmers struggle with today. And really it starts with boundaries. It sounds very simple, but field boundaries is the kind of key fundamental data layer to precision ag services, digital agriculture, or analytics when you talk about large scale. And today, farmers, still myself, I remember doing it from the first day, having to draw them in on digital maps for, applying for subsidies or insurance and finance, and do new prescription maps for variable rate seeding or application of fertilizer and crop protection. So we started in a very core area, or niche, so to say, on creating a model that would automatically detect field boundaries and seeded acres, so the biomass of the plant, so to say, based on satellite data. But yeah, it originated kind of from my own challenges as I entered this agriculture world.
So Nils, how did Digifarm come about?
Yeah, great question. So I took over the family farm in 2014, and then we started Digifarm in 2019. And I think when I took over the farm, I immediately saw, there's a lot of challenges that farmers are facing. I think it's still one of the least digitized industries in the world. Farmers are having to do a lot more reporting, when we think of ESG and sustainability and subsidies, and still a lot of this is done manually. So that means manually kind of drawing your boundaries into a map in all the kind of different places or digital solutions that you have to do reporting for. And from my perspective, it was more of a frustration, I think. It was a lot of work for something that could be pretty simply automated. So we started working on this model for automatically detecting field boundaries and planted area using high resolution satellite data. So we work in a very core area, so to say, of digital ag, but it's the kind of fundamental data layer that everything starts with.
Fantastic. So let's talk about some of the recent developments at Digifarm. I understand you've been using NFTs in quite innovative ways. Tell us all about that.
It's been a whole new world for us, and it's really, really exciting to learn about it, I must say. And when we think of field boundaries, we think of that's the key kind of fundamental data layer. And when you actually look at the world agricultural land, it's about 83% of it is smaller than 2 hectares. So it means the majority is actually smallholder markets. And when you think of smallholder markets, of course, there's less kind of technologically maturity there. So they even have a bigger challenge with actually adopting digital technology when it comes to the ag side. So we certainly see that creating a unique digital identifier for farmers will enable them to build services and create real value. And specifically, we focus on a couple of core areas, being crop insurance being one. Still about 80% of smallholder markets when it comes to farming still lacks crop insurance. And it's the kind of key, when you think of credit line and kind of collateral for farmers to be able to, have crop input, crop protection, and seeds and fertilizer. But yeah, so we've been working very, very closely with EndMaker over the last couple of projects now, which we've just recently actually minted some preview tokens in Kenya and Tanzania, which is really exciting for us. So where we basically pack in all the metadata in a field boundary. So we'll say how much is planted, the kind of productivity of it. So, and when I say productivity, I mean the green biomass, or how much greenness is in the plant basically in the season. So you can kind of somehow correlate that to yields or volume of the crops, and then the georeference and all that other kind of cool stuff. And the idea is, of course, this is going to help insurance company with underwriting. It's also going to have the farmers access more microfinancing and better terms for insurance. Sorry, I know there's a lot there, but I packed quite a bit of it in, but it's exciting.
No, it's all very exciting. Absolutely. It's great to hear all this kind of stuff. Let's talk about your recent funding by Project Catalyst. How's that helping to develop Digifarm further?
Yeah, it's been amazing. And I mean, the support from the Catalyst team and the ecosystem itself has been instrumental for us to really be able to do what we do. We've been able to partner with EndMaker, of course, and now we also have a project in Fund 13 with Anastasia Lab and Shai and Syngenta as well, which is, of course, a partner project, which we're very, very excited about. But this has enabled us to really put it on the blockchain, of course, and be able to create this unique identifier that then we can provide more value on the ecosystem. And really what we want to do is create the kind of fundamental data layer, of course, and then build these services on top. And the first one I mentioned is, of course, crop insurance and finance, but you certainly see, lots more opportunity for, precision agronomy services, doing prescription maps or, variable rate seeding or fertilizing crop protection, pest and disease detection. But we're starting with a couple of very concrete cases that will help us scale this solution.
Fantastic. And I think you touched on a few things earlier there that I wanted to look at a little bit more. The broader implications of Digifarm's work within agriculture. Obviously, there's a few things like insurance and things you mentioned beforehand, but what do you think your work might facilitate in the future?
When I think of what we're doing now with the NFTs and the kind of blockchain, I think, how is this going to affect farmers? And I'm being a farmer myself, I immediately see the need that, first of all, insurance companies have a hard time working in these areas when they think of smaller markets because they have a problem calculating the premium risk, right? So that's also why it's very inaccessible to a lot of farmers in that area. So the first is building history or building some kind of baseline of historical data that farmers can use for them to be able to get better terms on insurance or even just getting access to microfinancing insurance. So, and I mean, globally, would you think, farmers are still not great at adopting technical or digital solutions in ag? They're getting better, but certainly still, there's, farmers are still losing on average 10 to 15% in yield loss due to inadequate input application. It means that they're maybe putting too much fertilizer on the field or seeds or crop protection. And the ability to just create a very simple way to build services on top of what we're doing with the boundaries and metadata, I think will unleash some of the value specifically in smallholder markets. But yeah, I mean, crop input is maybe 50% of total crop production costs, for farmers. So the ability to reduce that and then at the same time get access to financing is critical, I think, in these areas.
So obviously there's a lot of work going into this then, and we can expect to see quite a few developments in the future. Speaking of which, what's next for Digifarm? What can we expect to see from you in the remainder of 2025?
Yeah, some exciting stuff now happening. And we just finished minting actually yesterday, like 250 kind of field boundaries in Kenya with all the metadata in, with much help of EndMaker and a couple other partners, which is super exciting. So we're getting ready to kind of put the open web application up for that. And then we're going to enable also the ecosystem to do the minting on demand, of course, of the other 50,000 boundaries that we have access to in that area. And we're going to grow on top of that. So a big part now is getting usage on that, of course. So now we work with several partners in the area, most corporate, so insurance and finance. So like, for example, I&M and Safaricom and E&I and different ones to build on top of that ecosystem and create usage. And then, that kind of connects the last mile, of course, to the farmer. So we're very excited about getting this out to the ecosystem and showing what we've been working on. Maybe I can say it's, you can't underestimate how it's cool AI and satellite stuff, but it's also very difficult. So it's been very difficult to build a model to detect boundaries well and get all the metadata, for 35 years of individual crop or in-field historical data. So, but we're very excited to be now where we can show some of the community and get some usage. So, yeah.
Wonderful. And if people want to find out more about Digifarm, how can they do so?
Yeah, great question. So, please reach out to us on our website, of course, www.digifarm.io, on LinkedIn, Digifarm, and on X as well. My personal one is Nils Helset, and I'll drop my email in there too if anybody wants to reach out, because we do want to, build a community and, more usage on top of this fundamental data layer. But it's nils@digifarm.io.
Awesome. Nils, thanks again for being on the show today, and looking forward to seeing what Digifarm get up to in the future.
Thanks so much, Rich. Very excited to be here, and yeah, thanks again for all the support from the Catalyst and Cardano community. We're very excited to be part and building together. So, thank you.
So thank you to James and Nils for joining us. Now, we're planning a deeper dive into stablecoins this summer, a hot topic right now. So keep an eye out for that, and be sure to follow USDM and Digifarm on their socials, and you can grab all the links below. Well, that's nearly it for this month, but before we go, a few other things to bring to your attention. This week, we were pleased to share that Ouroboros Leios has been accepted for presentation at Crypto 2025, one of the most prestigious conferences in the field of cryptography. It's a recognition that reflects the depth and rigor of the research underpinning Cardano's roadmap and the ongoing efforts to deliver scalable, secure blockchain infrastructure grounded in peer-reviewed science. Leios introduces a novel architecture designed to significantly boost throughput while preserving core security principles, a key step towards truly unlocking Cardano's full potential. Make sure you check out our blog to learn more about the research, the road ahead, and why this important milestone really matters. Last month, we introduced you to Jeff Watson to talk about IO Engineering's roadmap, now with a community for consideration. To continue that conversation, we've recently published threads on X to cover the body of work that we're proposing. So make sure you check those out via the links below to learn more about what's in the pipe. Other blogs this month include an outline on the new research framework for SPOs, looking at some of the items proposed in IO Research's roadmap, looking to enhance the landscape for stake pool operators. And remember to check out the blog on node diversity that I mentioned earlier. Last but not least, Midnight released their tokenomics paper. It's an interesting read if you're looking to learn more about a new model for token distribution. You can check it out on the TGE website and the links below. So thanks for joining us for another episode. Don't forget to subscribe to the Essential Cardano newsletter so you can stay up to date on just some of the latest happenings within the ecosystem. And a gentle reminder, we're taking a break from the regular show in July and August, but keep an eye on our YouTube channel and socials to see coverage from Rare Evo and much more. And make sure you hit that bell icon so you can be the first to know when new content drops. Till next time, take care.